Today on Mind Your Business, we're going to be talking about turning passion into profit with Kenya Green as she outlines her path from educator to real estate leader. Now, I'm excited to have Kenya discuss the unique parallels between home ownership and also business ownership, as she is a top producing real estate mogul and former educator who knows firsthand how success in real estate translates to business acumen. Now, stay tuned for valuable insights that can transform how you see both your home and your business. Joining us today is Kenya Green, the dynamic owner and CEO of KG Realty Group. With over 18 years of experience in real estate and a reputation as one of Atlanta's top realtors, Kenya's journey from teaching kindergarten to becoming one of the most respected names in real estate showcases resilience, passion, and an unmatched commitment to service. Kenya, welcome to the show. Now, before we dive into our conversation with Kenya, let's set the stage with our Mindset Minute. Now, this week, I want to remind you that building any kind of ownership, whether it's your dream home or a business empire, requires patience, adaptability, and a willingness to learn. The skills you develop in one area of life often apply to another, building a foundation for success that's stronger than you realize. Now, with that in mind, let's jump into our conversation with Kenya Green and discover the powerful connections between real estate and entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast, Kenya.
My first question is, I really want to have you share with our audience what inspired you to shift from teaching to real estate, and really how did those early experiences actually shape your career?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. I'm super excited about this opportunity and very grateful to be here with you today. So thanks, Max. Appreciate you a lot. The shift. So I would say this, I was an educator for 10 years and the focus was elementary education. I had a wonderful friend who was actually a paralegal, and she worked in the real estate industry. And she said, you know what, Kenya, you're always educating others, and I think that you can kind of pivot and transition and do that in the real estate market. And I just told her, absolutely not. I'm going to become a teacher and be a teacher for the rest of my life. So I thought. But it's funny, Max, because sometimes you have these seed planters, people who plant seeds, and sometimes that seed doesn't fully grow. They keep planting the seed, and then in the right season, it just really reaps a harvest. So she probably spoke that into me for a year and a half.
Wow.
And then finally, I was like, you know what? Let me look into this. Let me do some research. And then I found that I had an initial curiosity, right, towards it. And then after that, I was like, you know what? If you think that I can do it, then I can do it too. And so really it just kind of took off from there. So one person speaking something into me, and then I believed that I could do it. And here I am today.
Wow, that's really amazing. And like you said, sometimes it only takes one person. Sometimes it does take a seed. I think it's super important to also, it's important who we listen to and what we have in our environment, because the wrong information could have gone the other way as well.
That's correct.
And so it's good to have good people in your corner. And so I want you to talk about how your background in teaching influenced your approach with actually real estate, with your real estate business.
Well, for me, being an educator, and I should say, sometimes I often say former educator, but then people correct me. They go, well, no, you still educate. You're just educating people about real estate, right? So I think for me, I have 4 words for my business, and education is a big part of it. So it's the 4 E's. So educate, equip, empower, and encourage. And it's really something that I stand by all the time. So when I'm giving information out to people, I try to make sure that I'm living by those core values, those 4 words. So the education piece is a big deal, because there's people who just have no awareness about real estate at all. So you have to, kind of meet people where they are and sit down and figure out what exactly they want to do in terms of their real estate financial goals, because everybody's journey is different when it comes to real estate. So the education piece, you have to fully educate people to say, okay, I'm going to pour this into you, and then you have to come back to me to say, you know what, I'm ready to receive what you educated me with to grow my real estate portfolio, whatever that looks like, whether it's investing, buying, or selling.
You know what? I think that's a great point, and I'm going to have you in a moment repeat those four things. I think that they're just that important. I think those 4 E's are really worth repeating. They're really good. So I don't want you to be redundant. Just just curious. Can you I just want you to repeat those for me. That's great for the audience. So go ahead.
And it was 4. So we got the 4 E's. So it's the education piece. So educate, empower, equip, and encourage. So I added the encouragement part because oftentimes when I'm with people and we're working through a transaction, it is encouragement. Sometimes the real estate transaction doesn't go your way. Oftentimes it can be in a disarray, right? So the encouragement piece is really, really huge when it comes to just being with people and say, listen, don't give up. We are going to make it to the finish line, and we're going to accomplish your real estate goal.
And you know what I want to do is I definitely want to commend you for, this is 18 years in real estate, so that's a long time. And you know, I don't know if we ever talked about the fact that I used to be an agent in a former life. I ever told you that?
No.
And you know what? Before we could kind of dive into all this stuff, it's funny. I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this podcast with you. How long has it been? We met. This is 2024. And it was almost like 10 years ago, maybe 10 or 11 years ago, when I was thinking about coming to Atlanta. And I was actually sought you out for office space. You know, I was trying to find office space and relocate here. And so, and again, I just want to take time to set this up because I think the right person, and you have a great temperament for a realtor.
Thank you.
And I will tell you something that I will never forget is, honestly, I was coming in, like I said, to rent an office space. And, you know, I'm sure that renting an office is not the same commission for selling me a home, if you were selling a home. But you treated the transaction like it was the same for me. And that meant a lot to me. I mean, you treated my little commercial transaction like it was a big transaction. And, you know, they say we don't remember always what people say, but we always remember how people make us feel. It made that transaction feel important to me, and I never forgot that. So when we were coming, my wife and I were moving to Atlanta, obviously I'm going to call Kenya Green. You know,
thank you.
Yeah, of course. You know, and like I said, I remembered that moment. And so when we bought our house, obviously you were the realtor, and probably did make out better than you would have before. I hope.
Yes.
And so, but I just wanted to say I wanted to thank you for that because, like I said, I always remembered that. And I'm bringing that up because I think it's important in business. Sometimes we don't. What I was relating that back to is my time in real estate, and sometimes you got to be patient. Sometimes you're looking at homes and you're riding around and you're taking people out, and I didn't really love that part, to be honest with you. All the tire kickers, you know, the people who are just looking and they're trying to figure it out, and so I didn't love that part. I'm not gonna lie. So I shifted into the mortgage side, you know, went and got my mortgage license and did that. But like I said, I commend you for you have the perfect temperament for that.
Thank you.
For being a realtor, and I just think that's amazing. So what I want to say, I want you to kind of talk about how, or in what ways do you see home ownership and kind of like business ownership as being similar, and really in terms of challenges and rewards. So
that's a good question. Well, first of all, I go back to say thank you so much for the compliment, and that means a lot to me to hear that I made you feel good, even though you might have not been leasing or buying at that current time. But for me, it's all about relationships, and it is about how you make people feel. And that's a huge deal for me. I think my parents would be like so upset if I did not treat people how I would want to be treated. And I have to remember that really this business is a relationship business. And I'm really serious about relationships and continuing to cultivate and grow those relationships. So thanks, Max. I appreciate it. You know I love you and Nicole. So you all are my peeps. But in terms of, I think with business so let me break this down. So for business owners, right, having a business, I think sometimes business owners don't really concentrate on the diversification of buying real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're concentrating on the business or your businesses, but real estate can be your business too. It can allow you to really take advantage of passive income. And so there's so many different ways that business owners can own. So one simple way to own is just investing in real estate through investment properties, right? Mm-hmm. That'll allow someone a great return on investment to receive that passive income. So you can imagine you have your business or businesses having that income, but then you also have real estate. That's just another way to say, okay, I am diversifying my portfolio, my real estate portfolio, and you're getting that income coming from there. You can also get it from purchasing commercial properties, right? Mm-hmm. So there's commercial properties that you can lease or buy a building, and then you have tenants, right, mm-hmm. inside of your building that will provide you the income because they're leasing from you. So I guess I'm here to use my core value word of encourage to say, listen, I think it's a must to think strategically about how real estate can really benefit you. I think right now we're in the era of, well, first of all, real estate is still, it's always going to be a good thing to purchase real estate. Then we have another key factor of just interest rates. You know, of course, they were a little higher than we were a few years ago, but there are still lenders out here that if you sit down with them, they can be very strategic on getting you the best interest rate possible, which is going to be good because that really helps you maximize on your purchase, right, abilities. I think the other thing is just learning that long term, I think you need to think long term when it comes to investing in real estate, the long term advantages. And so, you know, I wrote down a couple of things, but the really, I like to tell people that the real estate is just a tangible asset.
And explain that. What does that mean?
You know what, like I tell people, the tangible asset is that it can appreciate over time. I think you said something at the beginning of the podcast that for me, real estate oftentimes is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to make all this money in 2 days. Yeah. Well, might not. But if you think about it long term, it can really, really be beneficial for you and your family. That's, you know, through the equity, right? Over the course of time that it can give you and your family. And then that's an opportunity where you can maximize on it if you sell that asset. So I just want people to just think outside the box a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I think that is really a good thing. And even speaking about the asset, and as far as for business, mm-hmm. for business owner, what I focus a lot on helping business owners build business credit and build their credit or their credibility, and having assets helps with that. So even when it comes to advancing or growing a business, sometimes having that asset really does help. Having commercial assets, residential assets, even investment properties, all of those things helps, like you said, building a portfolio. I think there's works to well round out someone, and with any kind of business in every industry is cyclical. Yes. But I think what you said also is that real estate is pretty, it's sustaining. And I think many experts say that that's generally one way to, one of the fastest ways and one of the most consistent ways to build wealth moving forward is through that. So I definitely think that everybody who is aspiring to even get into business, or to really, whether you're getting into business or not, is a great thing to do. But definitely as a business owner, there's so many assets. And then there's also equity that sometimes you can pull out through home equity loans. From my mortgage days, we did a lot of those things. You pull out the mortgage, and then you're able to invest and grow into business or buy another business or opportunities. So there's so many different advantages for that, even as a business owner. So I definitely commend you for that. And so I'm curious to know if you were kind of saying what were some of the toughest lessons you kind of learned transitioning from the teaching in the kindergarten to honestly sometimes home buyers are like kindergartners too.
You said it, I didn't.
Right? So it's maybe not that big of a transition, but talk about how was that transition for you?
Well, it was challenging because when you are totally going to a new career, there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. You're going to fall down. And in that, it's just a growth opportunity. So I think for me, it's just this. It took me a while to really pivot and to learn about the real estate business, I think for me. But I knew for me, though, it was important to go into this, educate myself, so that I could be well equipped to educate others. So I think the challenges were this, Max. I was used to being an educator, and then it was like, how do I go about finding the clientele? What does that look like? Then I had to be I had to be intentional about constantly being a learner myself, right? So because when I learn and when I grow, I can help others, right, learn and grow. But I think that the biggest thing was just who is going to want to do business with me when my background was being a teacher. They're like, well, you don't know anything about real estate. Why would we choose you? And so it really all started in the classroom. Because I used to tell people, if I can take care of your children Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 or whatever the hours were, then I can definitely help you with one of your biggest or largest investments of your life. And they would go, you know what, Miss Green, you're right. If you can take care of my child or children, you could help us with real estate. And so I really got the confidence through there that when the parents were trusting me, a lot of those parents were first-time home buyers.
Wow.
And so, I built a clientele through really the being in my school and that whole environment. And when I earned their trust, I was like, okay, this is great. So then things start just kind of, rolling, which was a wonderful thing. And it really grew where I had to go to my principal and say, okay, I'm doing pretty good with real estate. I need to kind of exit out of teaching. But again, the teaching word is just exiting out of this arena and then going into real estate. So I think with anything new, though, you're just going to fall, you're going to bump your head, and that's okay. And I tell people all the time, especially new agents, it's like, don't think you're going to just get it all at one time. You should be ever learning and growing. After 18 years, still learning, still growing, so that I can make sure I give my clients the best information possible related to their real estate goals.
I think that you said something that's super important, and one of those things is that again, always being educating or always educating yourself, I think is super important. I think a lot of people were in that age that people see things seemingly happening quick and fast for other people, and sometimes people feel like everything's moving faster for everyone else but themselves, but most times you don't see that behind the scenes struggle and that behind the scenes work. And there's always something happening behind the scenes, even with this podcast, there was behind the scenes stuff getting this together. So there's always something behind the scenes. And what I want to encourage people to do, anyone listen out there, that don't be afraid, like Ken you're saying, to try something new or to go out there, shift careers sometimes. And something else that you said, so you were kind of doing both of these things as you were figuring it out.
I was.
So how was that for you, kind of juggling both?
Well, there's a term that we call in real estate that's called like a dual career agent, where they have, a full-time occupation, and then there's some realtors that are doing real estate part-time. And for me, that was me. I was the educator full-time, and then part-time I was like, okay, I'm going to do real estate. And so it's just about, and every individual is different, taking the leap of faith and saying, you know what, I'm going to commit and do this full time. But it took me a while, to be honest. I was scared. I relied on, well, hey, this is, the teaching. I know what I can get. I know the payment. I know the compensation. Look, I got benefits. I got health care. So at one point, I was like, Kenya, you just got to take the leap of faith and just jump and do it. So I think everyone has to figure that out for themselves. And yeah, behind the scenes, no, it was crazy. I was, my goodness, unemployed. At times I didn't have any clients. There was extreme financial distress. So I don't want people to think when you become a realtor, you're just gonna be a millionaire. Okay, well, you might not. So you really have to be committed to and have a passion to really help people, right? And I think when you do that, the money will come. The money will come and follow you. But if you have this commission breath, right, on your brain and in your mouth, might not be a long-lasting business for you.
You know what? That exact point takes me back to something you said. When you got into this business, you were focused on relationships and building relationships. And I think sometimes people get into that industry for transactions, and it's transactional. And so it actually feels transactional when you're dealing with some agents out there, and it doesn't feel relationship. And I go back to, like I said, when we met and dealing with you as a realtor, you make people feel that relationship. And I think that is something to be said. That, like I said, I think that's what sets you apart from a lot of realtors. It doesn't feel transactional doing business with you. And I think anybody who's looking for a realtor, needs a realtor, definitely keep you in mind for that. Not only are you educating the process, but like I said at the top of the show, your temperament. I could see you even being, you probably were a great kindergarten teacher, real patient, and you just seem to have that temperament about you. And so just being able to relay those two things and transition those things, I think are awesome that you were able to do that. And you mentioned about being taking that leap forward and being scared. And what I try to do with this show and when I interview people is I don't like guests to just talk about all the great stuff, because you're seeing a lot of stuff on social media. Sometimes you got to go back and see, or sometimes it's good to know what challenges people had to overcome. And I think that's important to give people a realistic idea of what it is to become an entrepreneur. And I think the other thing they said that was really great is sometimes you are doing both, working in dual roles. And I think it's important to, I think before I kind of made my big plunge, I actually was working for someone else for a while. It was so long ago, but you get to a point where you kind of have to know when that time is, and you were kind of mentioning that. And when you're making more on a weekend with your part-time than you are all weekend your full-time, that's a good indication that, yeah, I want to flip-flop, and that's what happened with me. And it sounds like that's what happened with you with being able to make that decision to where, hey, it's time to go. It's time to move on to something else. So I do want you to kind of talk about, are there any kind of market trends today, right now, that you're seeing for entrepreneurs, or even for someone who just wants to buy a home? But more so, are you seeing any shifts in market trends or any market trends?
Well, I think now, we typically you might see a market trend when we have a new president come into office, etc. But I think it's this. it is still a great time whether you're looking to buy or sell property, right? Let's start there. What we're seeing now, the trend is this, is that we're seeing interest rates, and you're probably hearing this on the news, but the federal government, they are looking to lower, right, the interest rate. And I think too, because the market is still an inflated market, and they really do want homeowners to be encouraged to buy. And the way that you do that, you lower the interest rate a little bit. So the trend of a few years ago, it was high, and now they're starting to lower it, which is fantastic. And that's going to give more buyers more purchasing ability to really take advantage of maximizing on their purchasing power, which is fantastic. What I'm seeing now is there's still going to be a trend of, well, Kenya, I still have this low interest rate. I do not want to move, and that's fine too. We understand that. But there are lenders out here, and there's different programs that are available to buyers that I really feel sometimes buyers are not quite aware of all of the programs that are available. And so that's why the education piece is so important, and speaking with the lender. And I do encourage your listeners, even if you're not ready to buy or sell, you should still have a conversation if you're curious, because it's about planning, right? And some people go, oh, I don't want to call you because I'm not ready. And I'm like, no, that's okay. I think the more that we have conversations, which is the education piece, and me empowering you, then you get a gist of, okay, now that you told me this information, then this could be a 6-month thing for our family or a year. But I think that that's important to know. We're here to help. We're here to help. So the trend is this, Max. If you're a seller, it's still a great time to sell. If you're a buyer, it's still a great time to buy. Okay? If you're a business owner, I do encourage you to look at diversifying your portfolio. You've heard it before, multiple sources of income. Real estate's a great tangible asset that in its perfect timing, you will be able to benefit off of diversifying your portfolio. I'm a business owner. I have real estate investment properties. I love it. And I'm looking to purchase really in different states. You don't have to just set your mindset for just Georgia.
That's true.
But there's different opportunities where you can purchase and take advantage of the real estate market anywhere.
Well, so you know what? I'm curious to have you share your insights on how, over these 18 years, how have you managed to stay in the top 5 to 20% of Atlanta realtors for producers, really, in Atlanta? This is a big metropolitan area, and so how have you? What kind of things have you done to be so consistent and stay at the top of the market here in Atlanta?
Well, again, I'm really big on relationships, so just following up. There's a saying that we say, the fortune is in the follow-up, right? So even after the transaction, you're seeing about people. Oftentimes my conversation is not always real estate, but it's me loving on people. How are you doing? Connecting, lunch, coffees, just genuinely seeing about people. And when you do that over time, they remember you. There's sometimes we talk about real estate, but oftentimes I don't. I care about people. And when you continue to stay in touch with people and you're very intentional about that, guess what they do? They come back and go, okay, I'm ready to buy something, or I'm ready to sell something, or they refer you. And I would say about 99% of my business is referrals. It is referrals, which is wonderful, or repeat business, right? I deal with people that get divorced, unfortunately, newly married, starting your family, downsizing. I mean, I do it all, but again, I think if realtors can be intentional about building their relationships, they're going to see a whole world change for them in this business, in longevity. They'll see that.
Well, I like I said, obviously that's how you're doing it. It keeps coming back to those relationships. But I do want you to come back. You said fortune in the follow. I like that, fortune in the follow-up.
You get it, Max Fortune, right?
That's why thought it was worth mentioning. So let me ask you this: you're also a mentor and really a former productivity coach and a top coach or a top agent, really. So balancing all those responsibilities, how do you manage to do that and maintain everything?
Well, it's a lot. So currently, right now, Kenya's on sabbatical. Okay. In terms of the teaching piece and the coaching piece, so I used to do that in my market center a lot. So I would have these new agents, I would coach them, and it would be like a twice a month thing where they would sit down with me and we would figure out how to grow their business. So I did that. The mentorship, honestly, I think that's all the time. I mentor so many different people, and I love doing that because, again, I'm big on educating and helping people grow. The market center piece is really was a teaching where I would be called to say, hey, can you teach a certain subject in the market center related to real estate? And I did that too, but you have to be very organized. We would say this: if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. So really being purposeful about your time, your calendar, being organized. And I think I developed that just from teaching, honestly, Max. But then too, you have to develop a no, right? Saying no. Because sometimes you can say yes to so many things.
Agreed.
And it can distract you and pull you in so many different directions. So I had to learn all the things. It was a struggle because I'm typically, yes, but you can't do everything. So the teaching part of it, I had to let that go a couple of years because I think I took maybe about 10 to 12 realtors that I was coaching and teaching. But then I started seeing a decline in my business, and I was like, ooh, wait a minute, hold up. I got to get back to doing business and let some of these people go so that I can really concentrate on the success of KG Realty Group.
Yeah, it's important. Like I said, I think the consistent theme is about balance and creating balance, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs do struggle with balance and creating that balance, and it's hard to kind of focus or be great at everything. And so it's good to have kind of quadrants of times that you do things or try to focus on certain things. But again, things can get away from you, and it's great to be able to do an assessment and kind of bring things back and just assess where you are and where things are for you. And so it sounds like you did that, and again, still helping people, I'm sure, but just being able to kind of do it in a balanced setting. And so let me ask you this: what legacy do you hope to kind of leave behind as a top real estate agent or professional and business leader?
I love that question because legacy is a part of my core values too. I believe that your life, or you're here in your life, it matters in the now, but it should really matter when you transition. And so I think for me, I want people to, when I'm gone, and Lord, let there be a long time from now. But I think it's this. I want people to benefit off of my life. So I think that looks like, Kenya poured into me. Kenya loved me unconditionally. Kenya fully equipped me to be the best that I can be when it came to real estate. She pushed me to be a better person. And in terms of my own family, just building the legacy of my wealth portfolio, right? I have nieces and nephews and cousins and all the things, and I want to be able to leave tangible assets behind so that if they want to take one of the investment properties and sell it and pay for their whole entire college, then I want them to do so from me.
Wow.
So every decision that I make now is really setting me up for when I'm long gone. And so you have to be very purposeful. But But I talk a lot about that. Like, what will be your legacy?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm still in motion in discovering the legacy. I don't think I have it all figured out, but I do want people to benefit from my life. Period.
Wow, I think that's super. That's inspiring to be able to do that, and being able to leave a legacy. I think it's like I said, it's important. You do want people to remember. You want to leave something for that time that you were
Absolutely.
here. You don't want to just be a person who just took things, and you want to give something back and give back to other people as well. So here, what I want you to do finally, as we're kind of rounding out this interview, I wonder if there's like one piece of advice that you would give our listeners who are really trying to make that leap from stability, as you did, into entrepreneurship. What would that one piece of advice be from Kenya Green?
Well, for me, it was, listen, I had to pray. You're right. I mean, it was like, Lord, what exactly do you want me to do? So for me, it was seeking Him first to have that guidance and to say, for Kenya, what am I supposed to do? Right? What's my purpose? I think the second thing is just if you have something that's inside of you that you feel like, you know what, this is a passion of mine, then pay attention to that. And especially if it keeps coming to the surface. And it's okay to not be, I would say it's okay to be uncertain. Like, how does this all work? What does this look like? So getting a good group in your circle of people that are going to believe in you and pour into you when you don't. I think it's also wise to really look at your finances, because sometimes you make these jumps, but it's like, okay, in all my accounts there's like negative.
Yeah.
Well, we might need to, empower you and equip you on your financial journey too, making sure that if I'm starting something new, then I have the liquid assets over here to not be so stressed. Don't do like me. I jumped into it, but like, okay. But that wasn't very good when you jump into something and then you don't have anything, right? While you're trying to grow yourself and your business. And I think too, just give yourself grace, right? I think everybody needs grace. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have some down moments. You're going to have adversity and challenges. But that's all a part of the process. Like they say, trust the process. There are going to be days that you feel like giving up, and that's okay too. I've given up. I'm like, I'll give up for the day. That's okay. You just come back to it and just know that your greater is coming. You have to continue to have faith and trust in yourself.
I think that's great information, and like I said, you've been a wealth of really good information that you've been able to provide for everybody. And I want to move to our, what we're going to do is we actually have a listener question. So when I prepare these episodes of these podcasts, we do have people who ask questions. So I do have someone that had a question for you. And this listener says, Kenya, what are your top 3 qualities you believe every real estate professional should possess to be successful?
I think first and foremost, you have to have the ability to persevere. That's a good quality to have. You have to be consistent in this business. So whatever you choose to do, especially in terms of activities of growing your business, be consistent. And I think thirdly, there needs to be a level of authenticity that people see about you. All you can do is just be the real you. So whatever that real you is, just be it. And I think people will take a liking to that. So if you take those 3 things, I mean, I could add and add and add, but I think those 3 things would be really, really beneficial for someone to grow in real estate.
Good information. And so let me ask you, who is your ideal client? So if someone wanted to offer or refer clients to you,
Sure.
What kind of people or business what does that look like?
Well, for me, I deal with all kinds of clients. So I think at this point in my life, if you're thinking about buying and selling in whatever arena that is, I've dealt with luxury properties, I've dealt with foreclosures. I mean, I know a little bit about everything. So if you're that type of person who has the income to invest in real estate, buy real estate, or if you're thinking about selling, would love a conversation with you to see if I can help you or my team can help you with your real estate goals.
So we are kind of at our Mindset Minute segment, and so today's takeaway is simple. Really, successes in any field requires building a foundation, and so whether it's really your first time or your first venture, the groundwork you lay is super, super important, and so set the tone for everything that follows. Invest in yourself, nurture your skills, and also take calculated risks. So I want our listeners to have that kind of information. And so what's kind of like the one final piece of advice that you would, or motivation you'd like to leave our audience with?
I think it's believe in you. If there's something that you really want to do, then, Nike says it very well. Just do it. Just do it. You can do it. Do not allow adversity or setbacks take you out of, well, I'm not going to try or I'm not going to do, because, again, that's a part of the process. But just keep the faith. Be encouraged. There's greater things for you. So I'm just going to believe and declare that your latter days are going to be greater than your former days. So, and I'm here to cheer you on. I hope your audience really sees the benefit of walking in purpose. And sometimes walking in purpose, it's hard, it's challenging, but it's so rewarding. So you can do this. Keep going. Never, ever give up.
I love that. Never ever give up, and it is tough and difficult, and sometimes it's about making sure you kind of expect that, or I think so many people just kind of walk into whatever or think that they're just going to walk into whatever business industry or anything, and just things are just going to be smooth, and so you get kind of thrown off by that. And I often ask people, I relate it to like the boxing. I don't know if you're a boxing fan or whatever, but I always like to ask people, and I ask you this question too, it's like, what punch knocks a boxer out? Do you have the answer to that?
Is it the uppercut?
People say uppercut, overcut, whatever. You know what? It's really, it's the punch that they don't see. That's the one that knocks you out. So I talk to people about that. It's the punch you don't see that knocks you out.
I like that.
So you always want to be mindful of kind of paying attention to things and being alert to things that are happening, but try not to get knocked out. Try to not have one where you're just not really expecting things. It's always good to do some research. But I also want to go back to something you said about passion. You've said this throughout this whole thing, and pursuing your passion. I think it's something to be said about that. And I think sometimes when you are pursuing something that you like doing, it gives you a little bit more energy to go through with it or to continue it, even when it does get difficult and challenging. And I think that's there's a lot to be said about that. So that's super important also. Listen, I just feel like we could sit here and talk all day. It's been super enlightening to hear from your journey, your insights. Again, going from kindergarten to teaching and being the top realtor in Atlanta. And like I said, I just encourage people to go out and seek out Kenya Green. Your story is powerful. It's a powerful reminder that really success really is a blend of passion and community and really relentless dedication, which is what you embody, all of those things. So I really want to thank you for sharing all of that with us today. Now, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for our listeners who really want to learn more about homeownership or real estate strategies, where can they find you? Where can they get in touch with Kenya?
They can find me via phone, so let's do that first. My number is 770-639-9871, so feel free to call or text. You can shoot me an email at Kenya, Kenya, T as in Tom, Green, @gmail.com. I'm on all social media platforms, and my admin is going to kick my butt because I cannot think of them at this time. Lord, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, all the things. But just put in Kenya Green and it should pull up. So yeah, you can find me anywhere and everywhere. But yeah, please start with a phone call, text, or email. I'm here to serve and help.
Wonderful. Let's give out that phone number one more time.
Sure. It's 770-639-9871.
All right. And again, thanks for sharing, Kenya. And to everyone listening, remember to follow me, Max Fortune, at Mind Your Biz Expert. So you can find out about all the episodes we're doing at mindyourbizexpert.com. And I really would love for you to also, you can follow us on all social media platforms at Mind Your Biz Expert. Again, on all the platforms, and on YouTube. Also, like I said, all the platforms you can find us on. And so I want to keep engaging with you all. We love your questions, so please continue to submit those questions, and let's continue to build together. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and always mind your business. See you in the next episode. Kenya, again, thanks so much for coming out to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. It was really, really good. I had great fun.